Today I want to talk about the Four Noble Truths. And the Four Noble Truths is something that changed my life a long time ago. I lived in Asia for 10 years, and the one thing that really changed how I see life is the Four Noble Truths. What are the Four Noble Truths? The first one is life is suffering. I'm going to get back to that. The second one is identify the suffering. The third one is let go of the suffering. The fourth one is peace. Now let's unpack this a little bit. The first noble truth being life is suffering. We are going to have moments throughout life that we are going to suffer. It's unavoidable. We have to make peace with the fact life will have some suffering in it. The second noble truth, identify the suffering. This is where we need to start doing some work. There's only two kinds of suffering. That is internal suffering and external suffering. External suffering is suffering that is onto us, that is out of our control. As an example, you go for a morning run, you trip, you fall, you break your leg. Are you suffering? Yes, you are suffering. Can you change anything about it? No. You are on your way to work, somebody drives into the back of your car, suffering? Yes. External suffering is also things like flooding, looting, load shedding, sickness, somebody in our family passes away, things that create suffering in us that we can't control. Then there's the second kind of suffering. That is the internal suffering. That is the coulda, shoulda, woulda. I should have done this. I could have done this. Maybe if I only said this. Well, I said this. Now maybe this person is thinking this. If I only didn't do that. That's you being your own judge, jury, and executioner. That suffering is the suffering that's 90% of all suffering. That's us creating our own suffering. That is where the third noble truth comes in. Let go of the suffering. We need to let go of the internal suffering. Only once we let go of the internal suffering will we have peace. But peace doesn't mean we don't have suffering. Peace and suffering coexist. We can't have the one without the other. In Western upbringing, we are taught to avoid suffering at all costs. And then when we have peace, there will be no suffering. And then when we have suffering, we believe our whole world is collapsing. Thing is, you can be suffering and you can still be at peace. The work we need to do is identify where's that suffering coming from, that internal suffering or that external suffering. A lot of time, that internal suffering is also linked to the three planes of existence. The three planes of existence is the past, the present, and the future. Physically, our body is in the present, but mentally, we are really in the present. We're constantly at the extreme of the past and we're jumping to the future. And that creates a lot of internal suffering because we try to change the past. The past is set in stone. You can't change anything about the past. I'm not saying don't remember it. I'm not saying forget about the past. Then we jump straight to the future where we believe all these things. We have to do this for the future and this and this and this. The future is important, yes. We need to have goals. Goals are needed to steer us in the direction we want to go. That is our port the sailboat has to sail to. But the thing is also the future is unwritten. The future doesn't exist. There's only one place we can truly exist, and that is in the present. We are constantly jumping between these two extremes. The past is there to teach you how to live in the present. And how you live in the present is what is dictating the future you will have. Those daily habits of showing up, doing the work, getting things done, that is what is going to define the future you will have. Either you start taking control of the present, or you are leaving your past to write your future because you are automatically living in the present without being present in the present. This is where you have to show up daily. Think about the internal suffering, the external suffering. What do I need to get done? What is needed for me to reach the point I need to go? And use the past as a guide on what you should be doing and what you should be avoiding. But start living in the present. So think about those four noble truths, how they play out in your life. And also the three planes of existence. Where do you find yourself spending most of your time?